In essence, what we out here doing, we out here preaching the kingdom of heaven.
Yep.
Ultimately, I mean, ultimately that's what we out here doing. Even though it's a lot entail when you teaching this scripture, these scriptures. I mean, you know, but we out here doing this. Why? Because the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Our salvation is near than when we believe. And before society or empire falls, the Most High always sends his prophets out. You know, like Daniel, and during the time of the Babylonian kingdom. Just for an example. You know, you can go back to the when the Lord was on the scene with the 12 disciples that became apostles. The Roman Empire, they was on their way out of there. Because around, what they say, 33, around 30, 32, 33 years, that's when the Lord was crucified. So, then you go jump 30, let's say 40 years into the future. From that time, it's 70 AD. That's when they besieged Jerusalem, around that, you know, a few years before and a few years after 70 AD. So like from, I believe, like 66 AD to like 74 AD. You know, and then you jump from there to around 180 AD. The Roman Empire was the pagan Roman Empire was basically taken over, but it was officially taken over. It didn't get officially basically. Jake didn't come in there as a solid foundation of rulership, for lack of better words, until 324 AD, 25 AD. So that ain't, you might say, well, that's the time span of a couple of hundred years, say 200 years.
Right.
I'm gonna just throw that number out there. That ain't a long time, you know. And you still you jump to the time we're in now. This kingdom is going down.
Yep.
And then we finna get it. Well, no, where you at? Keep reading. Unless you got something to go back to 2 Peter, because it's gonna tell you how we look at time. Like 100 years ago by, and we be like, man, that's a long time, but that ain't nothing to the Most High.
Right.
But just keep reading, brother. Because I was gonna, where you was at in 2 Peter?
No, but you talking about is an 8. Jump down.
Right, no, I want you to just keep
read the whole thing.
Yeah, just keep reading.
The 2 Peter's 3 and 3.
Sorry, brother. Before you go, so we in them times that the Lord is gonna return, and that we're reading the scripture about the scoffers. You know, that many scoffers should come up in the last times, in these last days. So that's showing you that we in that time, because we out here on the block, and not just us, but all the brothers across the world. You got people that scoff at the word left and right. You got niggas that scoff on the comment board.
Yep.
You know? So go ahead, bro.
The 2 Peter's 3 and 3. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lusts, and saying, where is the promise of his comings?
Yeah, like that's the point. We gonna come back. That's the point I wanted out of there. Read that part again. That last part.
And saying, where is the promise of his coming?
Scoffers saying, where's the promise of his coming?
Right.
Like that brother gave basically a testimony, you know? I mean, we can just speak on the times we're in now. Going back to, when the elders, since the elders started bringing it out.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna say the apostles. You know? In the late 80s or mid to late 80s to the 90s. I'm talking about our so everybody know the elders of GMS, but the apostles. You know, and then they elders or they teachers, you know, in the 70s, late 60s, 70s, whenever that was, around that time. So it's been going on since then.
Yep.
all the way up into this very year, 2014. You know, saying where's the promise of His coming? Because we be like for example, when a so-called New Year is coming in, according to Esau, the so-called white man, we always say, Lord willing, this is the year of the return of the Lord that we get up out of here. Then we come out here, we prophesy saying the destruction's coming, the Lord is gonna return. Get your act together or you're gonna be destroyed. Even though we know 2/3 is gonna perish anyway. You know?
Yep. So
they saying, well damn, y'all been saying this shit for 6 years now. Y'all been saying it since 2002, 2000, and, you know, just for a long time, and ain't nothing. It seems like ain't nothing gonna happen, and it's because they ain't. First of all, the Most High ain't dealing with them. 2/3 of our people, and that's why they not paying attention. Because if the Most High dealing with you, He gonna put the spirit on you to pay attention.
Right.
To what's going on around the world.
Comprehend.
Come.
So they don't know what the hell going on. A lot of niggas didn't even know that situation in Ferguson with the nigga that got shot, Brown, Michael, what's his name?
Brown.
Yeah, Michael Brown got shot by the white cop. A lot of Jake didn't even know that happened.
Yeah,
some Jake came up to me this week and say, man, you see this? I'm like, man, you a week late.
Right.
You know? That kid got kicked off a week and a half ago.
They just killed another one.
Yeah, another. You got something?
Nah, but I know what you're talking about. Basically, what that brother was mentioning, man, this situation that happened at a corner store, young Jake, you know what I'm saying? He basically stole some sodas out the store and whatnot. And you know what I'm saying? And the laws rolled up on him. And shit, he was saying, shoot me, kill me. You know what I'm saying? That's what they did. You know what I'm saying? And you know, Jake had got it all on film. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's all these incidents is happening, man.
The devil showing his horns.
Yeah, and yeah, the point being is that about paying attention.
Right.
You know, paying attention to what's going on and all the shit that's because race riots is part of the prophecy. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of like these church goers, they didn't heard about, the scriptures say that there should be earthquakes and divers places and plagues and famine, but they don't know that race riots is in there too.
Right.
Race riots is part of the prophecy too.
The only reason them niggas knew just that little bit is because they probably mentioned it on your local black radio, so-called black radio.
World Star.
The ones
like
that do,
right.
A lot of them don't know what the fuck going on. They just know to go to church every Sunday, so-called church, and pay that money. Y'all about some y'all shop right. And they just know how to take their ass, they sorry ass to church, so-called church on Sunday, and say I paid tithes.
Right.
I pay. I gave a few dollars to the pastor. You know.
Exactly. That's what he did.
So Jake, if the Most High ain't dealing with 2/3 of our people, that's why they not paying attention to the times and knowing what time we in. Yeah, he had a second Peter. Where was that?
Hey, can I say something, Mike? Just dealing with paying attention to the times and the prophecies that's coming to pass, man. Last week when we was like speaking on that cookout ISUPK had, at the end of the video it said Passover 2015, see you there. That show they ain't hastening today, and they not paying attention to how close we are to getting the fuck out of here, man.
Yeah, we could very well be here in 2015.
Good.
The way it's looking, you know, because it's still a lot of things got to happen, but regardless, come on, bro.
There you go.
You know, whether it was gonna be 20 years from now or 50 years, you're supposed to carry yourself as if the Lord was gonna come back at any given minute. Right, that's all right, yeah.
That's a serious
That's why
solemn assembly.
Romans 13 and 11.
They basically gonna set up
Go
just
back
like
to
that
Peter
cookout, have a bunch of niggas at the Passover, man.
Start right here.
At 4, 3 and 4.
This is 2 Peter 3 and 4. Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers,
In the last days, that's what we've been speaking about. All right, go ahead.
walking after their own lusts.
Walking after how they see things
Right.
and what they want to do.
Right.
They perception on life.
Yeah.
You know, they perception on the future. They perception on the present time we're in.
Yep. They carnal flesh and not in the spirit. They own lust. They lust is coming from their flesh to be a part of this world. They not walking in the spirit and understanding what the fuck is even going on, like the brother going into. It says walking after their own lust and saying, where's the promise of his coming?
Right.
For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation.
Right. So basically, it's been a long time
Right.
that this has been being said that the Lord is going to return for many, many years. And it ain't came to pass.
Yeah.
Things has continued on as since they was from the beginning of time, you know?
Yep.
Because what was always preached in Israel? That we got a promised land. You know, we gonna receive the promised land forever. You know, the land of flowing with milk and honey, which is just symbolic. You know, that we got the kingdom of heaven coming, everlasting rulership, royalty on the planet Earth, you know?
Yep.
And we done been in captivity for the longest. We done been in captivity. We done been going through captivity since we came out of Egypt.
Yep.
Because that's we basically populated into an actual nation in captivity. You know, we became a nation of people in captivity. We became a large body of a nation in Egypt.
Yep.
You know, because if you go back to the account that's in the scriptures, the first ones that basically whatever was in Egypt was the patriarchs of the 12 tribes. You know?
Yep.
And then they offshoots. And then it tell you that 430 years, right? For 30 years we was doing good. Basically there was the Pharaoh was in power that was the Pharaoh that was in power was the one that Joseph he interpreted his dream.
Come on.
So he let basically Joseph and his brothers, you know, live good for that time period. Then after that, you know, in 30 years, Jacob have a bunch of kids.
Shit.
And then after that, you know,
Yep.
because they was already young men at that time. They wasn't little boys.
Right.
They were young men. Now, Scripture don't give ages, specific ages, you know, but anyway, the point being is that that's where it started at.
Yep.
You know, if you go back into the Scripture, so we grew into a nation in slavery. And then came out of Egypt, and ever since we came out of Egypt, we had when we had certain spans of time when we'd be out of captivity, but not for long. You know?
Right.
Like we was in the wilderness for 40 years, and then we went into the land of Canaan. And then I can't recite how long we was free, but then you go to the book of Judges, we was going into captivity. You know? We're going into captivity under these different nations, and from that point on, we was going into captivity. You know, we had the time where after that we was free for a while under King Saul, King David.
Yeah.
Then the Assyrian and Babylonian captivity came into play. So for the most part of the existence of us being Israelites, we've been in captivity. But the prophecies have been there.
Yeah.
A lot of the prophecies was getting constructed or prescribed in captivity.
Yeah.
The angels was coming to like Jeremiah, Isaiah in captivity.
Yeah.
Habakkuk, Daniel, they was in captivity when they was writing these prophecies. These prophecies was getting wrote.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
So but then so basically once we got all the prophets, the prophecies was there, and the Most High used the prophets to get these prophecies in this book. It's saying that the kingdom of heaven is gonna come to the Israelites.
Right.
So that and the prophets was preaching that.
Yep.
They was out in the streets saying that, you know, we going off, we being wicked, and destruction is coming. But then you keep reading the prophecies, it's saying that the Most High is gonna have mercy on the remnant. And we're gonna receive a kingdom and whatnot. So go ahead back to where you was at.
This is 2 Peter 3 and 4. And saying, where's the promise of his coming?
Where's the promise of his coming? Because it's promised in this book.
Yep.
That the Lord is gonna return and bring in the kingdom. Go ahead.
For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation.
Right. So all the ones that died talking about the kingdom is coming.
Right.
You have all the different prophets and priests, men of the Lord, you know, that passed away saying, look, the Lord is gonna return. And then